Let the world around you fade. Let the noise of your day settle like dust after a storm. Close your eyes, and let me take you to a place where the earth itself is alive and suffering. Imagine, if you will, that you are standing on the shore of an alien sea. The water is not the blue you know. It is a dark, churning gray, thick with the silt of 1,000,000 years. The air here is heavy. It tastes of copper, of sulfur, and of dry, ancient ash. It coats the back of your throat with the flavor of burnt history. This is the island of Vardenfell, a land of giant mushrooms that tower over the landscape like silent sentinels. A land of chitinous beasts skittering through the scrub. A land where the sky is often choked by storms that turn the day into a bruised twilight purple. But dominate your vision, towering above everything else, is the mountain. The Red Mountain, Dagoth-ur. To the uninitiated, it looks like a volcano, a massive, conical wound in the crust of the world, constantly bleeding rivers of fire and exhaling plumes of toxic smoke. But you and I, we know the truth. We know that geography is just a mask for theology. That is not a mountain. It is a tomb. It is a monument built by the universe itself to hide a mistake. And it is a ribcage. Listen closely now. Ignore the wind howling through the canyons. Ignore the distant cry of the cliff racers. Listen to the ground beneath your feet. Can you feel it? It is faint at first. You might mistake it for the thumping of your own blood in your ears. But it is slower, deeper, heavier. It is a vibration that travels through the bedrock, up through the soles of your boots, crawling up your spine, and settling in the base of your skull. Dum-dum. Dum-dum. It is the doom drum, the heartbeat of the world. For thousands of years, civilizations have risen and fallen in the shadow of this sound. The Chimer, the Dwemer, the Nords, the Dunmer. They all lived, fought, loved, and died, while this rhythm played beneath them. Most of them learned to ignore it. They treated it like the weather, just another fact of life in this harsh wasteland. But some listened too closely. Tonight, we are going to tell the story of those who listened. We are going to speak of the hubris that brought entire races to their knees. Because deep inside that mountain, buried under miles of rock and magma, lies the most dangerous object in existence. It is not a weapon, though it has ended wars. It is not a treasure, though kings have sacrificed their kingdoms for a glimpse of it. It is the heart of Lorkhan. In the theology of the Elder Scrolls, the gods, the Aedra, are usually distant. They are planets in the sky, infinite and cold. They are concepts. Akatosh is time. Mara is love. But Lorkhan? Lorkhan is space. Lorkhan is the reason you are here. He is the architect of the mortal plane, the one who tricked the spirits into creating a world of flesh and blood, a world where things die. And for this crime, for this trickery, the other gods tore him apart. They couldn't kill him. How do you kill the concept of space? But they could maim him, They ripped his divine spark, his heart, from his chest. They say that when a god dies, they become the earth. But Lorkhan did not die. He merely paused. His heart was cast down from the heavens, a falling star of pure, unstable divinity. It crashed here, creating the red mountain upon impact. And here it has stayed, pulsing, waiting, whispering. "Come to me," it says to the powerful. "Come to me," it whispers to the desperate. "I am the source. I am the answer. I can make you more than you are." It is a seductive song. It promises that you can transcend the limits of your mortality. It promises that you can wake up from the dream of life and become the dreamer. But it is a lie. The heart is radioactive with raw potential. Tonight, you are safe. You are just a listener. But imagine for a moment that you are a Dwemer tonal architect, 4,000 years ago, putting your ear against the stone wall of a deep mine and hearing that sound for the first time. Imagine the excitement. Imagine the terror. You have found the engine room of reality, and the engine is still running. We are going to descend to understand the curse that sleeps beneath the mountain. We must leave the physical world behind. We must travel back before the Empire, back before the Nords or the Elves or the Dragons, back before time itself was a straight line that you could measure with a clock. We go to the Dawn era. It is difficult for a mortal mind to comprehend this time. It was not a time of history. It was a time of myth made manifest. It was a chaotic soup of untamed magic where thoughts became reality instantly. In this chaos, spirits existed. Infinite, formless, terrifyingly powerful spirits known as the Et-Ada. Among them was Lorkhan. In the stories of men, Lorkhan is often a hero, sure, the champion of mankind. But in the stories of the elves, he is the devil, the great deceiver. Why? Because Lorkhan had an idea. He went to the other spirits, to Ariel, to Magnus, to the ones we now call the Aedra, and he proposed a plan. He said, "Let us create a place for our children, a place of reflection, a soul-forging arena." He showed them the blueprints for Mundus, the mortal plane. He dazzled them with the concept of limits. To a being that is infinite, the idea of having boundaries, of having a beginning and an end, was an exotic, beautiful novelty. They agreed. They began to build. But as the scaffolding of the world rose from the void, the trap snapped shut. The spirits realized too late that creation requires sacrifice. To make the rocks, the trees, the air, the laws of nature, they had to give away parts of themselves. They were draining their own divinity into the foundation. They were dying. They were becoming distinct, finite, mortal. Panic tore through the heavens. Magnus, the architect of magic, fled, tearing a hole in the sky, what we now call the sun. But others were trapped. They looked at their shrunken, weakened forms, and then they looked at Lorkhan. Lorkhan, who smiled. Lorkhan, who knew the cost all along. The war that followed was not a war of soldiers and armies. It was a war of mathematics and metaphors. It was the war of manifest metaphors. When a god struck another god, they didn't just wound flesh. They rewrote the past. They erased concepts. And at the center of this cosmic slaughter stood Trinimac, the golden knight of Oriel, the strongest of the Aedra. He confronted Lorkhan at the convention, the adamantine tower, the first structure in existence. the spike that pinned reality in place. Trinimac did not offer a trial. He did not offer mercy. In a rage that shook the newly formed firmament, Trinimac reached into Lorkhan's chest. Imagine the sound of a god being unmade. It was not a wet tear of flesh. It was the sound of a fundamental law of physics being ripped in half. Trinimac tore out the heart of Lorkhan. It dripped with the blood of creation. Pure, raw, unstable Patamaic energy. It pulsed in Trinimac's hand, beating with a mockery of life. The Aedra gathered around. They wanted to destroy it. They wanted to smash it into nothingness and undo the trap of the world. Auriel raised his weapon to shatter the heart. But the heart laughed. It spoke without a mouth. Its voice was the grinding of tectonic plates. It whispered a truth that froze the gods in their tracks. This heart is the heart of the world, for one was made to satisfy the other. Do you understand the horror of that statement? Lorkhan had tied his life force to the very existence of the world he tricked them into building. To destroy the heart would be to destroy the world. And since the Aedra were now part of the world, to destroy the heart would be to commit mass suicide. He had won. Even in defeat, the trickster had won. Auriel, the dragon god of time, was furious. If he could not destroy the heart, he would banish it. He would cast it out where no one would ever find it, where its corrupting influence could not touch their precious creation. He attached the heart to an arrow. He drew his bow, the bow that spans the horizon, and he fired it. The arrow shrieked across the unformed sky. It flew over oceans that had no names, over continents that were still cooling. A comet of blood and gold, trailing sparks of divine power. "Hide it in the deep," Auriel commanded. "Let the sea swallow it." The arrow struck the eastern sea with the force of an extinction event. The impact was so violent that it didn't just sink, it raised the earth. Magma surged up to meet the intruder. The centuries turned into millennia. The fires of creation cooled. The chaotic, shifting lands settled into the continents we recognize today. On the surface of Morrowind, the Chimer, the ancestors of the Dark Elves, built their towers of organic stone and worshipped the Daedra with blood and fire. They looked at the Red Mountain with superstitious fear, but beneath them, in the dark, lightless caverns where no sun ever shone, another race was busy. The Dwemer, the Deep Folk. You might know them as dwarves, but do not let the name fool you. They were not the short, axe-wielding miners of fairy tales. They were elves. Tall, pale, bearded, and terrifyingly intelligent. In a world ruled by magic and gods, the Dwemer were the ultimate heretics. They were atheists. They knew the gods existed. It is hard to deny Azura when she stands before you, but they did not worship them. They reasoned that a god was simply a being of immense power, and power could be measured. Power could be analyzed, and if it could be analyzed, it could be replicated. While the Chimer prayed for rain and harvest, the Dwemer built steam engines. While the Chimer feared the spirits, the Dwemer enslaved them. They were logicians. They were tonal architects. They believed that reality was a song, a complex mathematical equation of sound, and if you played the right notes, you could rewrite the sheet music of the universe. So, they dug. They expanded their subterranean empire, Resdain, deeper towards the core of the world. They were looking for raw materials. They were looking for thermal energy. Instead, they found the source. It happened deep beneath the Red Mountain. A mining team, led by the chief tonal architect Kagranak, broke through a wall of obsidian that was harder than any steel. As the rock fell away, the cavern was flooded with a strange, rhythmic light. And that sound, that eternal drumming, filled the air. Dum-dum. Kagranak stood before the heart of Lorkhan.
Any other mortal would have gone mad. Any other elf would have fallen to their knees, weeping at the majesty of a divine organ floating in the void, pulsing with the blood of creation. But Kagranak adjusted his brass spectacles. He pulled out his calipers. He did not see a holy relic. He saw a battery. He saw a power source so infinite that it defied the laws of thermodynamics. Kagranak realized immediately what this was. It was the mythopoeic center of the world. He understood that this heart was the reason mortals were mortal. It was the anchor keeping them trapped in the physical plane. And then a thought formed in his brilliant, dangerous mind. A thought that would doom his entire race. If the heart had the power to make the world, could it be used to make a god? The Dwemer did not want to ascend to Aetherius to be with the spirits. They despised the spirits. They wanted to build their own god, a god of logic, a god of reason, a god of brass. They called it the Numidium, the brass god, the divine skin. It was to be a colossal golem, 1,000 feet tall, powered by the heart of Lorkhan. It would be a vessel for the collective soul of the Dwemer race, allowing them to transcend their mortality and deny the existence of all other gods. It was the ultimate act of rebellion. But you cannot just plug a wire into a god's heart. The energy is too volatile. It destroys anything it touches. To manipulate the heart, Kagranak needed tools. Tools that could withstand the frequencies of creation. He forged 3 great artifacts. First, sunder, a hammer. Not to break the heart, but to strike it, to produce a specific tone, to make the heart ring like a bell. Second, keening, a short blade, a tuning fork in the shape of a dagger. It was designed to flay the sound, to focus the chaotic energy into a single, usable frequency. And third, Wraithguard, a gauntlet, because to hold sunder and keening without protection was instant death. The vibrations would shatter the bones of your arm and liquefy your soul in seconds. With these tools, Kagranak began his work. Deep in the chamber of the heart, the Dwemer built their laboratory. Great pipes of brass hissed with steam. Massive gears turned in the shadows. The sound of sunder striking the heart echoed through the stone. Clang, dum-dum. Clang, dum-dum. They were torturing reality. They were bending the knee of the universe. But secrets of this magnitude do not stay buried forever. On the surface, the chimer heard the rumors. The Daedric Prince Azura whispered to her champion, Nerevar. She told him of the blasphemy growing beneath the mountain. She told him that the Dwemer were building a weapon that would unmake the world. The tension was building. The friendship between the chimer and the Dwemer was fracturing. The war of the First Council was approaching. And down in the dark, the heart beat faster. It knew what was coming. It knew that blood would be spilled. And the heart loves blood. The tension could not hold. The secret was out. The chimer, led by the legendary Indoril Nerevar, demanded that the Dwemer stop their profane rituals. They saw the construction of the brass god not as science, but as an existential threat, a mockery of the ancestors, a danger to the very fabric of the starry heart. Dumak Dwarf King, the leader of the Dwemer and a close friend of Nerevar, denied the accusations. Perhaps he didn't know the full extent of Kagranak's madness, or perhaps he was protecting his people's greatest ambition. Diplomacy failed. Words turned to ash. The peace of Resdain shattered. The War of the First Council began. It was a brutal, grinding conflict that culminated in one final, apocalyptic siege. The armies of the Chimer clashed with the animunculi of the Dwemer on the slopes of Red Mountain. Lightning tore the sky. Steam centurions crushed soldiers under brass feet. Sorcerers rained fire upon metal. But the real battle, the battle that mattered, was happening inside. Nerevar, accompanied by his generals, Vorin Dagoth, Almalexia, Sothasil, and Vivek, fought their way into the heart of the volcano. They breached the heavy doors of the heart chamber. The scene they found was a nightmare of acoustics and engineering. The air was vibrating so intensely that it made teeth ache. The giant brass golem, the Numidium, stood half-finished, a silent titan waiting for a soul. Kagranak was there, desperate, cornered. His king, Dumak, fell in battle. Some say by Nerevar's hand, though the legends are clouded by time and sorrow. With his armies collapsing outside and his king dead at his feet, Kagranak made a choice. He would not surrender. He would not let his life's work be destroyed by superstitious savages. He turned to the heart. He picked up Sunder. He picked up Keening. "I will make us gods," he might have screamed, though his words were likely lost in the roar of the machinery. "I will remove us from this grey maybe. I will force the universe to acknowledge us." Nerevar shouted for him to stop, but it was too late. Kagranak struck the heart. Clang! He struck it again. A tone, pure and impossible, rang out. It was a sound that didn't just vibrate air. It vibrated truth. It was a command given to reality itself. The tonal architect was trying to synchronize the souls of his entire race with the divine frequency of Lorkhan. And then, silence. Absolute, terrifying silence. In an instant, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, every single Dwemer on the face of Nirn vanished. It didn't matter where they were. The soldiers on the battlefield outside? Gone. The engineers in the deep mines of Skyrim? Gone. The astronomers in the towers of Hammerfell? Gone. They didn't die. There were no bodies. There was no blood. One moment, a Dwemer warrior was raising his shield to block a blow. The next moment, the shield fell to the ground, clattering against empty armor. The helmet rolled in the dust. The boots stood empty. The smoke of the battlefield cleared, revealing a landscape littered with piles of brass armor and weapons, steaming in the cold air. The greatest civilization in history had been deleted. What happened to them? This is the question that haunts every scholar in Tamriel. Did they succeed? Did they merge with the Numidium, becoming the golden skin of their artificial god? Did they ascend to a higher plane of existence, leaving this crude matter behind? Or did they fail? Did Kagranak make a calculation error? Did he strike the heart with the wrong intention? There is a theory in the metaphysics of the Elder Scrolls called zero-summing. It is the danger of realizing you are in a dream. If you look at the universe and say, "I am," and the universe looks back and says, "No, you are not," and the universe's logic is stronger, you simply cease to exist. You are subtracted from the equation. Perhaps the Dwemer were too logical.
Perhaps, when faced with the raw power of a god, they argued themselves out of existence. Back in the heart chamber, the dust settled. Nerevar stood alone amidst the humming machinery. The tools, Sunder, Keening, and Wraithguard, lay on the floor, abandoned. The heart of Lorkhan beat softly, rhythmically, as if nothing had happened. Dum, dum. It had eaten an entire race in a single bite, and it was still hungry. Nerevar looked at the tools. He looked at the heart. He knew, with a sinking dread, that the war was over, but the nightmare had just begun. He had to decide what to do with these cursed items. He called for Vorin Dagoth. He entrusted the tools to him, telling him to guard them with his life, to never let anyone use them again. "I will protect them," Dagoth promised. "I will watch the mountain." But the heart whispers to everyone, even to the loyal, even to the noble. And as Nerevar turned to leave, the corruption was already taking root. The tragedy of the Dwemer was over. The tragedy of the tribunal was about to begin.
The silence of the Red Mountain was heavy, but it was not empty. Indoril Nerevar returned to his advisors, his wife Almalexia, the wizard Sotha Sil, and the poet-warrior Vivek. He told them of the Dwemer's disappearance. He told them of the terrible tools that had caused it. "The heart is too dangerous," Nerevar said. His voice was firm, the voice of a leader who had seen too much. "We must never use it. We must ensure no one ever tries to become a god again." His advisors nodded. They agreed. But in their eyes, in the depths of their brilliant, ambitious eyes, a shadow flickered. Sotha Sil, the cold logician, was already calculating variables. Vivek, the lover of paradox, was already composing a justification. Almalexia, who loved her people, was wondering how much better she could protect them if she had the power of a star. But they followed Nerevar. They marched back up the slopes of the volcano to retrieve the tools from Vorin Dagoth, to seal them away forever. But when they entered the heart chamber, the air had changed. Vorin Dagoth stood before the heart. He was not the same man Nerevar had left hours ago. His posture was rigid. His eyes were wide, reflecting the red pulse of the stone. He was holding Sunder and Keening, not as a guard, but as a master. "You cannot have them," Vorin whispered. His voice sounded like dry leaves skittering on stone. "I have been entrusted with the tools. I must protect them, even from you, Nerevar." The heart had spoken to him. In the short time he was alone with it, the radiation of the dead god had seeped into his mind. It showed him a vision of a world where he was the center. It promised him that he could finish what the Dwemer started, but do it right. He refused to hand them over. He called himself Dagoth now. A fight broke out. It was a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. Friend against friend. Nerevar and the tribunal were forced to strike down Vorin Dagoth. They defeated him, driving him off into the depths of the mountain, believing him dead. They stood over the tools. The temptation was palpable. Nerevar made them swear an oath. "On the name of Azura," he demanded, "swear that we will never use these profane instruments." They swore. But oaths are just words, and the heart is power. What happened next is a subject of great debate. The official history of the temple says Nerevar died of his wounds from the battle. They say he blessed his friends with his dying breath. But there is another story, a darker story.
The Ashlanders whisper it. The ancient texts hint at it. They call it the foul murder. In this version, the tribunal did not wait for Nerevar to die. They realized that as long as he lived, they would never be gods. His honor was the shackle keeping them mortal. Imagine the scene, the smoke, the exhaustion, the three advisors looking at their king, then at the tools, then at each other. A silent agreement passed between them, a nod. They betrayed him. They drove the spear into his back. They cut off his feet so he could not walk. They cut off his face so he could not be recognized. They murdered the greatest hero of their age on the altar of their own ambition. And then, with the blood of their husband, friend, and king still on their hands, they turned to the heart. Sotha Sil knew the ritual. He picked up Sunder. He struck the heart. Clang! He used keening to flay the tone. They did not vanish like the Dwemer. They were prepared. They absorbed the power. In moments, they changed. Their skin glowed. They grew in stature. They felt the limitations of mortality, hunger, age, fear, dissolve. They became the Almsivi, the living gods of Morrowind. They walked out of the Red Mountain not as generals, but as deities. They brought a golden age to their people. They stopped meteors. They flooded the land with water and magic. They were loved. But they had forgotten one thing. Azura, the Daedric prince, appeared to them, furious at the betrayal of her champion Nerevar. Her curse echoed across the land. "You have chosen your fate," she hissed, "and for this deed, your people will wear your sin. Their skin shall turn as gray as the ash, and their eyes as red as the fire." In an instant, the Chimer were changed. Their golden skin faded into the gray of the Dunmer, but the tribunal? They laughed. Sotha Sil and Almalexia used their new power to maintain their appearance, mostly, but the curse stuck to their people. They didn't care. They were gods now. They had rewritten history. They claimed Nerevar died a hero. They claimed their godhood was a gift, not a theft. But deep inside the mountain, the heart was still beating. And deep in the abyss, Dagoth-Ur was not dead. He was sleeping. He was healing. And he was remembering everything. For 3,000 years, Morrowind knew peace. This was the era of the tribunal. Under the guidance of Almalexia, Sotha Sil, and Vivec, the Dunmer flourished. Great cities of glass and insect shell rose from the ash. The arts, philosophy, and magic reached heights never seen before or since. To the common elf, the tribunal were perfect. They walked among their people, radiant and terrible, solving problems with a wave of their hands. They stopped the meteor Bar Dao from destroying Vivec City, freezing it in the sky with a gesture. They flooded the Akaviri invaders. They negotiated the armistice with the Empire. They were loved. But behind the golden masks, the truth was rotting. You see, the tribunal were not true gods. A true god, like Akatosh or Mara, is infinite. Their power flows from their nature. But the tribunal? They were mortals who had stolen a divine battery. And batteries run dry. Their divinity was not a state of being, it was a resource, and it was leaking. Every year, the three had to make a secret pilgrimage back to the Red Mountain. They had to enter the heart chamber, pick up the tainted tools, Sunder and Keening, and strike the heart again. They had to bathe in the raw energy of Lorkhan to recharge their powers. Imagine the psychological horror of that ritual. To maintain your paradise, you must return to the scene of your greatest crime. You must step over the invisible stain of your husband's blood. You must touch the very thing that drove the dwarves to extinction. For centuries, this ritual worked, until the year 2E 882. The tribunal arrived at the mountain, ready for their annual bath in divinity. But the chamber was not empty. Someone was waiting for them. Out of the shadows stepped a figure. He was tall, twisted, his flesh ash-gray and golden brown, a mockery of the Chimer and Dunmer duality. He wore a mask that smiled, but his eyes burned with a madness that made the gods afraid. Vorin Dagoth. Now Dagoth he had not died. While the tribunal played God on the surface, Dagoth had been sleeping in the core, bonding with the heart. And here lies the terrifying difference. The tribunal used the heart as a tool. They siphoned power from it. But Dagoth he did not view the heart as separate. In his madness, he believed that he was the heart. He believed that he was the center of the universe, and everyone else was just a figment of his dream. He was the Sharmat, the false dreamer. He laughed at the tribunal. "Welcome, old friends," he might have said. "Have you come to steal from me again?" The battle that followed was short and catastrophic. The tribunal, their powers waning, were no match for a being who was directly plugged into the source. Dagoth and his ash vampires ambushed them. In the chaos, the unthinkable happened. The tribunal lost the tools. Sunder and Keening fell from their grasp. They were forced to retreat, fleeing the mountain like thieves in the night, leaving the instruments of their godhood in the hands of their enemy. They returned to their cities, shaken and terrified. Without the tools, they could not recharge. Their divinity began to fade. The clock started ticking. Desperate, they built the Ghost Fence, a massive magical barrier of spiritual energy encircling the Red Mountain. They told the people it was to keep the blighted monsters inside, but that was a lie. It wasn't just to keep monsters in. It was a quarantine zone. It was a dam trying to hold back a flood of corruption. Because inside the mountain, Dagoth now had everything he needed. He had the heart, he had the tools, and he had a plan. He would not just rule Morrowind, he would spread the Corpus disease, the divine disease, to every living thing. He would turn every elf, human, and beast into a piece of his own flesh. He would build a new god, a Kulakhan, a second Numidium. The Golden Age was over. The Age of Blight had begun, and the gods of Morrowind were slowly, secretly, dying. The gods were bleeding, not with blood, but with time. Inside their palaces, the tribunal grew quiet. Sothasil retreated completely into his clockwork city, sealing the doors, losing himself in the machinery of a perfect world, because the real one was failing. Almalexia grew paranoid, her love for her people twisting into a desperate, violent need for control. Vivek sat alone in his temple, floating in the lotus position, using every ounce of his will to keep the meteor Bar Dao from falling, all while the Ghost Fence drained him dry. They were dying, and they knew that when they died, the monster in the mountain would break free. But Azura had not forgotten. The Daedric Prince of Dawn and Dusk plays a game longer than mortal lives, longer than empires. She had a promise to keep. A prophecy. The Nerevarine prophecy. It whispered through the ash camps. It traveled on the wind. From 7th sign of 11th generation, neither hound nor guar, nor seed nor harrow, but dragonborn and far star-marked, outlander incarnate beneath red mountain, blessed guest, counters 7 curses. To the temple, this was heresy. They hunted down anyone who spoke of the Nerevarine, the reincarnation of Indoril Nerevar, who would return to cast down the false gods. But here is the secret of the Elder Scrolls, the deep magic that governs this universe. Prophecies do not predict the future, they enforce it. And to fulfill a prophecy, you do not need a king, you do not need a general, you need a prisoner. Think about it. In every great event in Tamriel's history, the hero begins in chains. Why? Because a free man has a past. A free man has a family, a job, a destiny written by his culture. But a prisoner? A prisoner has had their life stripped away. A prisoner is a zero, a blank slate. And because they are nothing, they can become anything. In the year 3E 427, the Emperor Uriel Septim VII, a man who saw more in his dreams than he did with his eyes, gave an order. He commanded that a specific prisoner be taken from the imperial city's dungeon and shipped to Morrowind. "They have the right face," the Emperor said, "the face of the one in my dreams." And so you arrive. The storm is raging. The boat rocks on the dark water. You wake up to the voice of a fellow prisoner, a Dunmer named Giube. Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. You step off the boat into the town of Seyda-Neen. You have no name until you write it on a form. You have no history. You are an outlander. You are the perfect vessel for the prophecy. But you were not the first. This is the tragedy that the legends often skip. Before you, there were others. Brave souls. Warriors, mages, wise women. They all believed they were Nerevar returned. They all tried to fulfill the trials. If you travel to the Cavern of the Incarnate, a hidden shrine in the Ashlands, you will meet them. They are not flesh and blood anymore. They are ghosts. Peakstar, Erur Dan, Idrini Nerathan. They stand there, bathed in blue light, holding the items they failed to carry to victory. They whisper their failures to you. "I thought I was the one," says the ghost of Hortled. "But I was not strong enough. I thought I was the chosen," says Anateria. "But I was too arrogant." They are the failed incarnates. They prove a terrifying truth about the Nerevarine. You are not born the Nerevarine. You become the Nerevarine by surviving where everyone else died. It is a mantle you earn, trial by trial, pain by pain. Azura is not kind. She throws souls at the wall until one of them sticks. And now it is your turn. You are the final gamble. The tribunal is weak. The sixth house is rising. Sleepers in the towns are waking up from nightmares, screaming the name of Dagoth-Ur, their minds infected by the dreams of the dead god. The stage is set. The actors are in place. The prisoner has been released. And deep in the Red Mountain, the heart beats faster. It recognizes you. It remembers the soul you carry, even if you don't. It remembers the friend who betrayed it. And it remembers the enemy who is coming to finish the job. While the Nerevarine walks the path of the trials, the enemy does not sit idle. The war for Morrowind is not being fought on battlefields. It is being fought in the dreams of its people. In the dead of night, ordinary citizens wake up screaming. They are sweaty, terrified,
mumbling about a tall figure in a golden mask. They start to move their furniture, stacking chairs and tables into strange, precarious towers. Why? Because the geography of their homes must match the geography of their new master's mind. They are the sleepers, and they are listening to the broadcast of the Red Mountain. The signal comes from Dagoth-Ur, but to understand the horror of the sixth house, you must understand the nature of Dagoth-Ur's madness. In the lore of the Elder Scrolls, there is a concept called Chim. It is the ultimate enlightenment. It is when you look at the universe, realize it is all a dream, realize you do not exist, and yet you have the audacity to say, I am. It is a state of supreme individuality. Dagoth-Ur achieved the opposite. He looked at the universe, realized it was a dream, and decided that he was the dreamer. He believes that he is the only thing that is real. You, me, the rocks, the trees, we are all just extensions of his own flesh that haven't realized it yet. He is the Sharmat, the false dreamer. His goal is not to conquer the world. His goal is to become the world. He spreads this truth through a disease, Corpus, the divine disease. To the Empire, Corpus is a plague. It causes weeping sores, tumors, madness. But to Dagoth-Ur, it is a gift. It is forced evolution. Those who contract Corpus do not die. They change. Their flesh grows uncontrollable. It expands, mutates, hardens. They lose their minds, their memories, their names. They become ash ghouls. They become ascended sleepers, Lovecraftian horrors with tentacles for faces, floating on winds of magic. But look closely at an ash zombie. Look at its face. It has no face, just a hollow crater where the nose and eyes should be. Why? Because in Dagoth-Ur's world, there is no need for eyes. You do not need to see, because he sees for you. You do not need to speak, because he speaks for you. The individual is erased. There is only the collective. There is only the flesh. Imagine the horror of being infected. You feel your mind slipping away. You feel your own body betraying you, growing new limbs, new organs. And through it all, you hear that voice in your head, soothing, comforting, terrifying. I am the older than music. What I bring is light. What I bring is a star. What I bring is an ancient sea. When you sleep, you see me, dancing at the core. It is not a blight. It is my house. The Nerevarine must face this horror. You must walk into the sixth house bases, caves filled with red candles, ringing with the sound of bells, smelling of rotten meat and ozone. You see the text written in blood on the walls. The dreamer is awake. This is not just a cult. It is a cancer of reality. Dagoth-Ur is trying to consume the dream of the Godhead and replace it with his own nightmare. And he is winning. The ghost fence is failing. The blight storms are reaching the cities. The sleepers are picking up knives. And deep in the Corpusarium, beneath the Tower of Telfir, the last sane dwemer, Yagrum Bagarn, watches the spread of the disease with a mixture of fascination and terror. He knows what comes next. The heart is preparing for the final act. The trials are complete. The Ashlander tribes call you Nerevarine. The great houses call you Hortator. You have united a fractured land. But to enter the Red Mountain, you need permission from the very people you are destined to destroy. You must go to Vivek. Imagine climbing the steps to the palace of Vivek. The air is thin. The city below floats on the water like a lotus flower. But above you, the ominous moonlit Bar Dao hangs suspended, a reminder of the threat that never sleeps. You enter the chamber. It is vast, echoing, and filled with the scent of incense and ozone. And there,
Floating in the center is the warrior poet, Vivek, half gold, half gray, half chimer, half Dunmer. He is the last active god of the tribunal. Almalexia has descended into madness in Mournhold. Sotha Sil is silent in his clockwork tomb. Only Vivek remains, holding up the ghost fence with his will, burning his divinity like fuel in an engine that is running out of oil. He does not attack you. He does not deny you. He looks at you with eyes that have seen 3,000 years of history, and he smiles. A sad, knowing smile. "I have been waiting for you," he says. This is the turning point of the story. For centuries, the temple hunted the Nerevarine. But now, Vivek realizes the terrifying truth. The tribunal cannot stop Dagoth-Ur. They are too weak. They are cut off from the source. Only you can do it. And to do it, you must undo them. Vivek knows that if you destroy the heart, the tribunal's power will vanish. He will become mortal. He will likely die. The city he holds up will fall. The people who worship him will be left godless. And yet, he gives you the key. He hands you Wraithguard. Look at it. It is not a piece of armor made by elves or men. It is Dwemer. It is heavy, cold, smelling of ancient oil and strange metals. It hums in your hands. It is the only thing that will allow you to hold Sunder and Keening without dying instantly. "It is a heavy burden," Vivek whispers, "but you must carry it." He explains the plan. It is a suicide mission. You cannot kill Dagoth-Ur. He is immortal. He respawns instantly because he is dreaming himself back into existence. You cannot fight a dream with a sword. You must go to the source. You must go to the heart chamber. You must sever the connection, Vivek instructs. You must use the tools not to siphon power, but to break the enchantments. You must destroy the heart of Lorkhan. Think about what he is asking. He is asking you to kill a god, to unmake the physical anchor of reality, to finish the job the Aedra started in the Dawn era. He sits back in the air, his duality perfectly balanced. He offers you his papers, his secrets, his confession. He admits to the murder of Nerevar, or perhaps he denies it, for Vivek lies even when he tells the truth. It doesn't matter anymore. The past is ash. The future is fire. "Go," he says. "I will keep the ghost fence up for as long as I can. But my time is over. The time of the poet is done. The time of the prisoner begins." You turn to leave. The gauntlet weighs down your arm. You are walking out of the palace of a living god, carrying the instrument of his destruction. Outside, the sky has turned a bruised, bloody red. The wind howls from the mountain. The doors of the ghost fence are creaking open. There is no turning back now. The heart is waiting. The ghost fence looms before you, a wall of shimmering, crackling energy that rises into the stratosphere. It hums with the souls of the ancestors, a desperate barrier holding back the infection. You press the switch. The pillars groan. The barrier flickers and parts, just enough for one person to slip through. You step inside. The world changes instantly. Outside, the sky was gray and overcast. Inside, there is no sky. There is only a swirling, choking vortex of red dust, the Blight Storm. It screams like a living thing, tearing at your clothes, stinging your eyes. Visibility is near zero, but you don't need to see to know where you are going. You can feel it. Dum, dum. The heartbeat is no longer a vibration in the ground. It is a physical pressure in the air. It rattles your teeth.
It aligns with your own heart until you cannot tell which one is beating. You are on the slopes of the Red Mountain now. This is ground zero. This is the crater of the God Wound. To reach the summit, you must first descend into the canyons. You must visit the ancient Dwemer citadels that cling to the mountain's ribs like barnacles. Odrosel and Veminal. Why? Because Dagoth-Ur is not foolish. He has not left the keys to his godhood lying on a table. He has given them to his brothers, the Ash Vampires. These are not mindless monsters. These were once Chimer Lords. They were the generals of the First Council. They were your friends in a past life. Now they are twisted, towering horrors with hollow chests and magic bleeding from their fingertips. You enter Veminal first. The halls are rusted, filled with the stench of ozone and dried blood. You find him in the main chamber, Dagoth Vemin. He does not attack immediately. He looks at you with eyes that see across timelines. "Greetings, Nerevar," he might say, his voice a dry rasp. "My brother told me you would come. There is a tragedy here that breaks the heart." He recognizes you. Even through the madness, even through the corruption, he sees his old commander, but he cannot stop. He is an extension of the Sharmat's will. You fight. It is a battle of sadness and steel. When he falls, his body dissolving into ash, you take it from his corpse. Sunder, the hammer of Lorkhan. It is incredibly heavy. When you touch it, you feel a surge of raw, masculine power. It wants to strike. It wants to break. It feels like anger made metal. Next, you climb the ridge to Odrosel. You face Dagoth Odros, another brother, another death, another tragedy. From him, you take the blade, Keening, the crystalline dagger. It sings, a high-pitched, maddening whine that never stops. It feels incredibly sharp, not just to the touch, but to the mind. It wants to cut through the lies of reality. Now you have them. Look at yourself. On your right hand, the heavy gauntlet Wraithguard. In your belt, the hammer Sunder and the blade Keening. You are walking artillery. You are carrying the very tools that erased the Dwemer race. You are carrying the instruments that made the tribunal into gods. The sheer magical radiation coming off these objects would kill a normal man in minutes. But you are not a normal man. You are the prisoner. You are the Nerevarine. You stand at the foot of the final citadel, Dagoth-Ur. The entrance is a gaping maw in the side of the volcano, breathing out steam and fire. The journey is almost over. The final confrontation awaits. But before you enter, take a moment. Look back at the ruined land. Look at the red storm. This is what happens when mortals touch the divine. This wasteland is the price of ambition, and you are about to walk into the center of the explosion. Clench your fist inside the gauntlet. Draw the hammer. Draw the blade. The dreamer is awake, and it is time to put him back to sleep. You step through the massive doors of the citadel. You expect a dungeon. You expect a slaughterhouse. But what you find is a temple. The interior of the Dagoth-Ur facility is a confusing, nauseating mix of Dwemer engineering and organic growth. Brass pipes are choked with gray flesh. Steam vents hiss with the scent of spices and rot. The walls seem to breathe. And then you hear him. Not inside your head this time. Not a telepathic whisper. A real voice. Resonant. Cultured. Almost warm. Come, Nerevar. Friend or traitor, come. Come and look upon the heart, and Akulakhan. And bring Wraithguard. I have need of it. It is the voice of a host greeting a guest at a dinner party, not a monster facing his killer. You descend into the central chamber, and there he stands, Dagoth-Ur. He is magnificent and terrible, a towering figure, his skin the color of ash and gold, his face hidden behind that iconic, three-eyed golden mask. He does not draw a weapon. He does not summon guards. He stands with his arms open. "Welcome, moon and star," he says. "I have prepared a place for you." This is the most disturbing part of the entire journey. Dagoth-Ur does not hate you. In his twisted, God-touched mind, he loves you. He believes you and he are still the best of friends, just having a slight disagreement about the fate of the universe. He begins to speak, and his words are a manifesto of madness. He explains that the tribunal were false gods who stole their power. He is right. He explains that the Empire is a leech sucking the blood of Morrowind. He is right. He explains that the Aedra are dead planets, and the Daedra are cruel masters. He is right. But then comes the conclusion. "I will free this world," he proclaims. "I will break the prison. I will drive the mongrel dogs of the Empire from Morrowind. And then I will share the gift." The gift is Corporus. The gift is the erasure of self. He gestures to the pit behind him, to the massive half-built frame of a Lorkhan, the second Numidium. It is a god built of metal and flesh, designed to broadcast his mind across the entire continent. "I am the heart of the world," he tells you. "I am the older than music. What I bring is a star." He offers you a choice. He genuinely believes that you might join him. He asks you to hand over the tools, to surrender Wraithguard, to join the Sixth House and become the general of his divine army. "Join me," he urges, "and together we shall speak for the law and the land, and shall drive the mongrel dogs of the Empire from Morrowind." You stand there, the weight of Sunder and Keening heavy on your belt. You look at his mask. You look at the madness radiating from him like heat. You realize that he is not lying. He believes every word. He is the hero of his own story. But his story ends with the death of free will. You shake your head. You reach for your weapon. Dagoth-Ur sighs, a sound of genuine disappointment. "What a fool you are," he says. "I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive?" He raises his hands. Magic crackles in the air. Spells older than the Mages Guild, raw and unrefined. The talking is over. The time for philosophy is done. He attacks. The room explodes with energy. Fighting Dagoth-Ur is not like fighting a dragon, or a Daedra, or a king. It is like fighting a hurricane. He moves with a fluid, terrifying grace, casting spells that warp the air around you. Fire, frost, and raw magicka tear through the chamber. You strike him. Your blade connects. You see his blood, dark and golden, spill onto the Dwemer floor. You drive him back. You are the Nerevarine, the incarnate, the most powerful warrior of your age. You deliver a blow that would fell a giant. Dagoth-Ur falls. For a moment, there is silence. You think it is over. You think you have won. But then, the laughter begins. It bubbles up from the corpse. It echoes from the walls. The body on the floor dissolves into ash and light, swirling away into the ventilation shafts. "I told you,"
His voice booms from everywhere and nowhere. I am the heart. A god cannot die. You realize then the terrible truth of his words. You cannot kill him here. As long as the heart beats, Dagoth-Ur is eternal. He is merely an avatar, a projection of the heart's own defense mechanism. If you destroy this body, he will simply dream up another one. He invites you deeper. Come, he taunts. Face me where it matters. A massive door opens at the back of the facility. A blast of heat hits you, hot enough to singe your eyebrows. The air tastes of pure iron. You step through, and you stop. The breath leaves your lungs. You are standing on a narrow suspension bridge made of brass and bone. Below you, hundreds of feet down, is a sea of boiling magma. The heat is unbearable. But ahead of you is a nightmare of engineering. Hanging in the center of the vast volcanic cavern is a Lorkhan, the second Numidium. It is a colossus, hundreds of feet tall, a skeletal god made of metal and the flesh of corpse victims. It has 3 eyes. It has no soul, but it is waiting for one. And in its chest, or rather, floating in the empty space where its chest should be, is the object of your quest. The heart of Lorkhan. It is smaller than you expected, a rough, fleshy stone glowing with an intense, rhythmic red light. It looks like a tumor. It looks like a jewel. Dum-dum. Dum-dum. The sound is deafening here. It forces your own heart to beat in sync with it. It overrides your nervous system. Dagoth-Ur appears on the bridge in front of the heart. He is fully restored. He glows with power. He is drawing energy directly from the stone behind him, his body acting as a conduit for the dead god's will. He raises his hands. "This is the end, Nerevar," he shouts over the roar of the volcano. "The end of your prophecy, the end of the empire, the beginning of the dream." He is invincible here. If you strike him, the heart heals him instantly. If you burn him, the heart cools him. He is playing in God mode. You look at him. Then you look past him. You look at the heart. You remember the instructions. You remember the papers Vivek gave you. Do not fight the enemy. Fight the source. You have to run. You have to ignore the god throwing fireballs at your back. You have to jump off the bridge. You have to land on the platform next to the heart. You have to commit deicide. You tighten your grip on Sunder. You ready keening. The final act of the tragedy begins now. You land on the narrow, rocky outcrop next to the heart. The heat is blistering. Your skin feels like it is tightening, cracking. The air is so thick with magic that it tastes like copper blood. Above you, Dagoth-Ur screams. He teleports, reappearing on the bridge, raining down curses and spells. He realizes too late what you are doing. He thought you came to fight him. He didn't think you would dare to touch it. "What are you doing? Stop! You are betraying the world!" You ignore him. You have to. If you turn to fight him now, you die. You look at the heart. It is pulsing violently, a wet, organic rhythm that shakes the foundation of the mountain. You raise Sunder, the hammer of Lorkhan. You swing. Crack! It is not the sound of metal hitting stone. It is the sound of a bell ringing inside your own skull. It is a tone so deep, so pure, that it makes your teeth rattle.
Sunder strikes the heart, and for a split second, the heartbeat stops. The heart shudders. It has been rung like a gong. The tonal enchantment protecting it, the binding that holds it in this reality, is disrupted. Dagoth shrieks. It is not a human scream. It is the sound of a man whose soul is being ripped out through his pores. No! I am the heart. I am the dreamer. You cannot take this from me. He falls to his knees on the bridge. His golden mask slips. His power flickers. For the first time in centuries, he feels cold. You do not stop. You drop Sunder. You draw keening. The short blade sings its high, maddening wail. You have to be fast. The tone from Sunder is fading. You have to flay the enchantment while the heart is vulnerable. You strike. Once, twice, 3 times. Slash, slash, slash. With every cut, the heart changes. It shrinks. It expands. It turns transparent, then pitch black. You are performing cosmic surgery with a rusty knife. You are cutting the ropes that tie the divine to the mortal. Dagoth is crawling towards you now, desperate, begging. The Akulakhan, my house, my people. Do not destroy the promise. He sounds like a child watching his sandcastle being washed away by the tide. You strike a 4th time. The heart begins to spin. The red light turns blinding white. The sound rises to a crescendo, a scream that shatters the glass in the windows of Vivek City miles away. One final strike. You drive Keening into the center of the mass, and then it happens. The heart does not explode. It does not die. It leaves. It folds in on itself, imploding into a microscopic point of non-existence, and then simply vanishes. The doom drum stops beating. The sound that has defined the reality of Vardenfell for 4,000 years is suddenly, violently gone. Silence crashes into the room like a physical wave. The massive frame of Akulakhan, the brass god that was moments away from activation, groans. Without the heart's power, the enchantments holding its massive limbs together fail. It begins to crumble. And Dagoth He stands up. He looks at his hands. The golden glow is gone. The divinity is evaporating off his skin like steam. He looks at you, and in that final moment, the madness seems to clear. He is just Vorin Dagoth again, a traitor, a friend, a corpse that forgot to lie down. "It is done," he whispers. Then the cavern begins to collapse. The mountain is screaming. With the heart gone, the structural integrity of the Red Mountain, held together for millennia by magic rather than physics, begins to fail. Massive chunks of rock, the size of houses, crash down into the lava below. The giant skeleton of Akulakhan, the aborted god, tilts and falls, sinking into the magma with a slow, grinding screech of twisting metal. You have to move. You run back across the bridge. The heat is scorching your lungs. The facility is tearing itself apart around you. Pipes burst, spraying steam. The walls of flesh wither and turn to dust in seconds, aging thousands of years in a heartbeat now that their life support is gone. You burst out of the citadel, stumbling into the ash-choked air of the crater. And then, everything stops. The shaking subsides. The roar of the volcano fades into a distant rumble. You look up. For the first time since you arrived in Vardenfell, the red wind has stopped. The blight storm, which raged like a permanent hurricane inside the ghost fence, dissipates. The clouds part, and through the swirling dust, you see something impossible. Blue sky. The sun breaks through. A beam of pure golden light hits the ash, and in that light, she appears. Azura, the queen of dawn and dusk. The Daedric prince who started this entire tragedy thousands of years ago. She does not look like a monster. She looks like a woman of infinite beauty, holding a moon and a star in her hands. She floats above the ruin, looking down at you, her champion, her tool, her vengeance. Her voice fills the crater, not with madness, but with a cold, triumphant clarity. You have done well, mortal. The death of a god is no small matter. She gives you a ring, a final reward. But listen to her words. Listen to what she is actually saying. You no longer bear the burden of prophecy. You have achieved your destiny. You are free. The incarnate is retired. It sounds like a blessing, but it is also a dismissal. You were a weapon forged for a specific purpose. Now that the purpose is fulfilled, the weapon is sheathed. But as you stand there, breathing the fresh, blight-free air, the weight of what you have done begins to settle on your shoulders. You have saved Morrowind from Dagoth-Ur, yes. The nightmares will stop. The Corpus monsters will die out. The sleepers will wake up in their beds, confused and headache-ridden, but free. But you have also killed the Tribunal. By destroying the heart, you have cut the cord. The Vec, Almalexia, and Sotha Sil are no longer gods. They are just powerful, ancient elves. And they are fading. Without the heart, their immortality will wither. The ghost fence will fall. The meteor Bardau, held up only by the Vec's will eventually crash. The Red Year will come. You didn't just save the world, you changed it. You ended an era of magic and mystery and ushered in an era of mortals and mediocrity. You look at the ring in your hand. You look at the clearing sky. You realize that being a hero in the Elder Scrolls is not about fixing the world. It is about choosing how it breaks. Azura fades. The mountain is silent. The heart is gone. But is it? Can you really destroy a concept? Can you really delete the idea of I am? Or did you just set it free? History will say you destroyed the heart of Lorkhan. The temple priests will say you cleansed the land. But tonight, as we reach the end of our journey, I want to leave you with one final, haunting thought. What if Lorkhan won? Think about his nature. He is the trickster. He is the agent of change. He is the spirit who believes that stasis is death and that struggle is the only path to transcendence. When the Aedra tore out his heart and threw it into the sea, they thought they were imprisoning him. When the Dwemer tried to bind him to brass, they thought they were using him. When the Tribunal siphoned his power, they thought they were stealing from him. And when Dagoth-Ur tried to spread his flesh, he thought he was becoming him. But they all failed. Why? Because they all tried to keep the power. They tried to stagnate. They tried to build eternal kingdoms that would never change. You, however, you did something different. You rejected the power. You had the tools of a god in your hands, and you chose to break the cycle. You chose to set the world back on its natural, chaotic course. You chose mortality over false divinity. And isn't that exactly what Lorkhan wanted from the beginning? He created the mortal plane as a testing ground, a place where spirits could learn, fail, suffer, and eventually, through great effort, overcome their limitations. By defeating the false gods and destroying the safety net of the heart, you proved his theory right. The heart is gone. The heavy, rhythmic drumming that plagued the subconscious of the world has finally stopped. Dum-dum. Silence. Beautiful, empty silence. The Red Mountain is just a mountain now. It will erupt again one day. It will cover the land in ash. But that is natural. That is the way of the world. Things break, things die, and new things grow from the wreckage. The Nerevarine will eventually leave Morrowind. You will sail east to Akavir, disappearing into the mist, because a prisoner without a prison is just a wanderer. The tribunal will fall, one by one. The empire will crumble. But that is tomorrow's worry. Tonight, the sky over Vardenfell is clear. The stars, the holes in the sky left by the fleeing spirits, are shining down on the ashlands. The Gwar are sleeping in their pens. The silt striders are motionless, their long legs folded, humming a soft, low vibration that is nothing like the doom drum. You can rest now. The prophecy is fulfilled. The burden is lifted. The voices in the dreams are gone. Close your eyes. Imagine you are sitting on the shore of the bitter coast. The water laps gently against the mud. The fire crackles nearby, keeping the chill of the night at bay. You are safe. You are small. You are mortal. And that is a wonderful thing to be. The universe is a dream, yes, but for tonight, it is a peaceful one. The Godhead sleeps. The trickster smiles. And you can finally drift away. Good night, Nerevarine. Good night.